Well, we highlight on a regular basis the various works that Crossroads is involved with through relief and development, both near and far, right around the world, various projects. Thanks to your support, your help enables us to do that. And someone who has a lot of firsthand experience of what is happening, the different types of projects we're dealing with, is Crossroads producer Cheryl Weber. And Cheryl, it must be something for you to be able to go over there, actually see what people have helped us to do and document it and bring it back for us. What's that like for you?
You know what, it's personally impacting on so many levels, and I wish I had the time to really explain how incredibly impressed I am. I wish every person watching could go out there and see this work, because it's just the deep planning, the levels of planning that Crossroads Relief and Development does, the long-term strategy that they do, the care they do in rolling it out. It's really phenomenal, and they think through every aspect of development about how to make sure that this project will succeed and these people will succeed. And it always blows me away to think, and you thought of that? And you made sure that they could do this? And it's really about giving people dignity and giving them hope. And I think that people who've been giving can be so proud of the work that they're doing, because it's really phenomenal. And
so it's not just a Band-Aid fix of some things. There are some long-term projects that where we partner with people there on the ground and make sure it's done right.
Yeah, it's a real commitment that I see, that they really want to have sustainable long-term programs that don't just keep people alive for the hour, but they really empower them to live the rest of their life.
Change.
You know, taking care of their own family, being able to make money for themselves, being able to feed themselves. And I really see that as a difference. It's not something that we want you to give to a project for 20 years. We want you to give for 2 years, raise them up, get them on their way, and then find somebody else who wants dignity. And people want that. They want dignity. I really see that. You know, one of the areas that I love that we do is agriculture. You know, my dad in his retirement is a farmer, and I gotta say, Dad, I did not give you enough respect, because here in Canada, and I want to give a shout out to the farmers, because we go to the grocery store, we buy our food, the food's just there, and you know, it's just kind of magical. Everything comes in packages. But you know, in the third world, being able to farm is the difference between living and dying. And farming is a lot of the answer to world hunger. That's what I've really seen. And when we go to a community, we can give them, first of all, we give them tractors, not give them a tractor, but we give them the use of a tractor. So it might take them a month to actually go through and get their field ready to plant. For us, we give them a tractor, it takes us 2 hours.
And then we're watching some footage of a backhoe was clearing
the land
there for
and you know, in so many of these places they can grow beautiful things. What they need, we give them tools. We give them good seed, which is hard to find in Africa many times. Like they'll keep their good seed and sell the bad seed, and that's all they can afford. And bad seed, as we know, biblically produces bad fruit. So, and then we give them training of the latest agricultural techniques. And so really, again, it's that whole planning for success, that we don't just say, here's some seed, go farm, but at every step of the way, we walk with them to make them a success.
And this Edenic almost. You got the green growing and the water flowing, and
it's food, it's life. You know, when we look at plants, we don't realize that is the difference for their child between life and death. So it's really phenomenal. And you know, I've seen it work. I went to this town recently in Africa. They'd had a huge massacre, 300 people killed. And this whole town was traumatized. And they were like completely poor, and everything was broken down, their houses burned. And when we went to this town, we had a meeting and we said we want to do agriculture. Nobody asked questions, nobody spoke, there was nothing happening, there's no people around, there was nobody in the downtown, it was a dead town. And so we actually planted a church, hired a pastor with counseling degree who started counseling and getting them to talk. We started these agricultural programs. And you know, the one thing about so many people who are poor is that they're entrepreneurs. And they have to be in order to even have survived this long. So we started the agricultural program. Their first harvest, as soon as they started getting money, they had some to eat, they had some to sell, they started opening businesses. I went there 6 years later, just this year, and they have a thriving downtown with all these businesses and activity happening, and people are out, and it's transformed the entire town.
Wow, that's fantastic. I know one of the areas where we're focusing on agriculture is the Turkana region of northern Kenya. And that, I think tomorrow, is it tomorrow, Jen? I'm going to be on a phone call with Chester, one of our team members who's over there now, and get an update from him. But so what are some of the other areas of Crossroads Relief and Development other than the agricultural and sustaining type of work?
Yeah, well, you know, one of the things I've really seen is the vulnerability of children. And I know you've seen this when you've been to Africa, but it's all over the world. As a parent, we would do anything to protect our kids. The thought of one of our children being vulnerable to either sexual assault, starvation, having to fend for themselves on the street is probably more than most of us can bear. And yet I see this all over the world. One of the people we partner with, Charles Molly, who we've seen, there's been over a decade of partnership. He's amazing. You know, he rescues kids off the streets of Kenya. These are kids that through war or poverty, their parents have abandoned them. And you can see here are some of the rescued kids, and they're just celebrating. They're so happy, and they have a chance at education and life. And it's so exciting. And the other thing is which is the closest thing to my heart probably, is the prostitution of kids, which we see in Cambodia. And I know we've covered that quite a bit. And that is just heartbreaking. When you see kids like this is in a town that's notorious around the world for kids being sold. And we work in this town, which is probably the darkest area that we work in. It's hard to imagine that these kids are prey for sexual predators and adults. It's almost beyond, you know, your imagination. And yet we are seeing so many incredible results in these towns. We have, in this particular town, we have a medical program, we have a school, we have a kids club, which is kind of like Sunday school, and we have a church. And in church, you know, the sermons are things like, don't sell your kids. Kids are a gift from God. As parents, it's our job to protect kids. They shouldn't have to provide for us, and they shouldn't have to be exploited. And so when we started these programs, you would look at the kids club that we had, for example, 98% of the kids that came to that kids club were sold at night, if you could even imagine. It's the church. It's just so heartbreaking. It's made up of former traffickers and brothel owners, and some currently, and you know, victims, and it's the most unique ministry I've ever seen. But after 5 years of this outreach, what we've seen is it's gone from 98% of kids being sold just in 5 short years to 60 to 70%, which is still horrifying, but so much better.
Does it feel dangerous when you go there? The workers there, they're changing things.
Yeah, you know, it was much more dangerous even 3 years ago when I was there. In 3 years, I saw a huge difference where I had more freedom to walk in the village. People were friendlier. I could see more of the village. So I really see that transformation is taking place. And this is what we have done together. You know, when you see the pain in the world, not one of us can make a difference. But together, all of us doing our part, we are changing the world.
Right.